So I thought a lot about what I really wanted to say today, and I know that a lot of you have probably been through some difficulties with your physical stress overall, and different things that go on with you as time goes on. As we age, we have different aches and pains that occur, and one of the biggest things that most people think about is quality of life, and how that quality of life affects everything day to day. The beautiful thing here is you have an amazing center here. You have great people to care for you, and you have an opportunity to actually live out your time with people that are compassionate and here to support you. So that being said, one of the things that I typically discuss is healthcare misconceptions. The misconceptions about chiropractic, the misconceptions about healthcare overall in our current market, our current time frame. The biggest thing that I see that most people are unaware of is where we stand as the United States in overall health and wealth. So overall health, where do you think we stand compared to 191 countries? Where do you think we stand in overall health? Anyone? 50? That's a good guess, definitely a good guess. Anyone else have we are actually 37th in overall health in the World Health Organization. Every 2 years, they actually do a survey to determine what country has the greatest healthcare system, okay? So we're 37th. So why do you think that we're 37th overall? Anyone? Okay, so the reason that we're 37th is because we look at a lot of times, instead of wellness care or prevention, we look at it from a more sickness-based care system, okay? Once you've been through certain medications, you have to stick with those medications, and I totally get that. I am pro medicine. I am pro chiropractic. I'm also, overall prevention is the biggest thing that we have to consider. But to know and understand that we're 37th overall, and we're probably the third wealthiest country in the world, how can we be 37th, okay? And one of the main reasons is education, okay? We're not educated over time the proper way, or we listen to every single thing that TV tells us, that a physician that's been practicing for years and doesn't have the experience of the latest and greatest technologies. So we get kind of caught in that circle where we're not necessarily getting the information that we need at the time we need it, okay? So that's one reason we're 37th, okay? Another reason why is because we spend too much money on sickness care and not prevention, okay? Prevention would be making sure that we're strong and we're exercising and we're doing the things that we need to do so that we do have the quality of life over time as we age, okay? And the biggest thing in that concept is even as we age, there's still things that we can do so that we don't limit ourselves later on down the road, that we maintain our strength, our ability to do the things that we love to do, okay? I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir because it is challenging at this stage to really, for me to even understand what some of you are going through as far as your physical ailments and everything. So I want to apologize ahead of time because I want you to know that I respect the fact that you've lived a life and that you've done the things physically and emotionally to get through that. But I also want to just kind of hone in on the reasons why we are kind of limited in our healthcare system over time, okay? Now, the other issues that I like to talk about, so we'll go to prevention, okay? So let's say at this stage in your life, what would be different things that you can do to kind of prevent physical issues like a fall, like an emotional, having we all have tough days. All of us do. We all go through physical, chemical, and emotional stresses every day. Our stresses physically can be just trying to do our daily, whatever we do throughout the day. Our emotional stresses, it's the things that added up over time that emotionally get us. So from that perspective, looking at what you can do daily to keep yourself doing the physical things that you need to do, moving and getting from place to place and doing your activities of daily living, and also the emotional component. What can you do, and what the staff does here to help you to feel good about what's going on in your life, okay? But we all deal with that. We deal with that daily. We deal with that. Currently, I'm a father of two. I have my daughter, Sophia, who is 15, just turned 15 years old, and my wife Lorraine, and my son, Hudson, who's 12. So I'm blessed to have this time of my life to enjoy that aspect. But there's an emotional component and a physical component that comes with having children and really keeping up with children and doing those different things, which you all know. Most of you know. So from that perspective, the big emotional component that a lot of people deal with is the day-to-day. Knowing what's going on in the world. Knowing what's not going on in the world sometimes is better because we hear all these different bad stories, and that's a scary thing for a lot of us. Even as a father with two children, it is horrifying sometimes to hear the stories of what goes on out in the community, okay? But back to the emotional and physical component of making changes in your life and doing the things now that can continue to prevent injury later on. So what you can do daily, and I'm sure they do a lot of the physical exercises and different things here to just help you keep moving. That's really important. Trying to get outside in the sunlight a little bit. If it's back in the pavilion, they said, Doreen said that you have a spot to kind of get away and get out into the sunlight a little bit. That's always a positive way. Some other positive things, just interaction, listening to people like me speak or entertainers. I hear you get an opportunity to see some entertainers from time to time. That is awesome. So just daily things that kind of lift not only your spirit, but also lift you physically as well. Getting out of the room and doing the different things that you need to do, okay? It's so important to just keep moving. Keep moving. And it's the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. Because over time, as we don't do the things that we need to do, it's just more of a deterioration. So I want to express the fact that daily habits and making sure that you do something daily to help yourself physically and emotionally is very important, just like as I talked about. Other misconceptions that people have. So back to the World Health Organization and how they determine our overall health. What do you think is another component of the United States, how our health is overall, and why we're 37th? Does anyone have another reason for? Diet. So the fast food, thank you. The fast food restaurants, most people have realized that the fast food restaurants are some of the restaurants that are actually causing illness or sickness over time. So staying away from that, staying away from bad food, making the right choices, very, very important, okay? So diet, physical, the exercise component, and then how many of you are on 2 or more medications? Okay. How many of you aren't on a medication? Everyone here is on some type of medication? Okay. How many of you are on one medication? Most of you are on 2 or more medications, okay? So those medications are typically either a blood pressure medication, a cholesterol medication, something for to uplift the spirit, sometimes an antidepressant. There are a lot of different things that patients and clients take all the time. So we have to look at the different medications that we've taken over our lives and how they influence or affect our systems and our bodies. So that's one thing that I like to talk about in my office to even a more younger crowd, because it gives me an opportunity to express the fact that sometimes the medications aren't necessarily what's going to work. It's diet, exercise, and prevention. All those things that we could do to change our lives to continue to adapt overall, okay? How many of you have been to a chiropractor in the past? Okay. So the misconception about chiropractic is we're bone crunchers, okay? The misconception about chiropractic is that a majority of chiropractors in the early days actually ended up going to jail as a result of practicing medicine without a license, okay? We weren't ever practicing medicine, and we still don't practice medicine. We practice chiropractic. So what is chiropractic, okay? Chiropractic is basically the detection of the subluxation, or the detection of the misalignment of the vertebra throughout the spine. So you have 24 movable vertebrae throughout your spine. It's the detection of interference after that vertebra is put out of place. There's pressure on the nerves, okay? The nervous system controls and coordinates every system in the body. So if the brain is trying to communicate with organs, tissues, cells, and there's interference in the neck, it's not able to communicate with maybe your hand to do certain movements, right? So the nervous system, again, controls and coordinates every system. If there's interference in the nervous system, what we do is we detect where that interference is, and then we correct it, okay? How do we correct it? There's 150 different chiropractic techniques. 150, from very, very, very gentle and specific touches to the spine to what most people know of is the bone crunchers, okay? So when it comes down to it, the ideal adjustment is to put a gentle force into the spine to make a correction to where that nerve interference is, to allow the body to take over and do it itself. There's a lot of doctors that make claims that they're curing certain illnesses. I always say the power that made the body heals the body, okay? So if our body has nervous system interference, if our body has certain issues with numbness and tingling in the arms, numbness and tingling down the legs like sciatica, there could be interference in different regions that's truly causing that, okay? So back to the 150 different techniques. The gentle touch, there's actually energy work too, where people like Reiki, where people just they really don't even touch the area. That's not really considered chiropractic, but that's an energy work that helps the body to balance, okay? Then, which Reiki is actually fairly well accepted now, especially with a lot of cancer patients and different aspects of energy healing where someone has no chance or if there's issues overall. So the different techniques, so very, very gentle. In my office, I use an instrument, and it actually detects where there's interference in the spine. It then puts a little impulse into the spine to make a change to that area, okay? So it helps the body to help itself. As we put that gentle force into the spine, it allows the nervous system to now function better. It allows the brain to better communicate with the rest of the body. Our ideal goal, again, is to find where that interference is, make the correction, and let the body heal itself. A cure? No. An assistant for helping you heal? That's what we do. We assist the body in doing that. There's other techniques. There's techniques using a table to stretch the spine. There's techniques to actually do muscle manipulation where you move the muscles so that the bones restore their position. There's different techniques that use other instruments. There's a technique called the activator technique. It's a very gentle and specific, it sounds like a staple gun, right? And it just makes a very gentle movement to the spine. There's full spine doctors who look at the spine from the base of the skull all the way to the coccyx bone. There's upper cervical doctors who just adjust the two top vertebrae. There's an occiput. So the occiput is the base of the skull. So there's doctors that actually adjust just the base of the skull. So there's a combination of different techniques, both gentle and specific, very specific, to more of a gross manipulation. A lot of people ask the question, what's the difference between an osteopath and a chiropractor? Well, the osteopathic mentality is that they increase circulation through the body, where chiropractors help the nervous system to function better overall, okay? I always say that the nervous system functions in a way that it can increase the arterial supply, it can increase blood flow through the body because the nerves actually innervate the arterial walls in certain areas, okay? So if the nervous system is communicating with the body through the arteries, then it's important for us to make sure that our nervous system functions well so that our circulatory system functions well, so that our heart and lungs do what they need to do, okay? Again, no cure, just helping the body help itself. Any questions about that? Any question?
My son had a tip of the vertebrae that the piece broke off.
Okay.
And of course he was in tremendous pain. And he seems to be a little bit better. Like the doctor said, he doesn't want to operate yet. He wants to see if it can cure it. So this is what the process is in right now.
Okay.
And
So with that being said, there's a bunch of different techniques to determine what that truly is causing, why there's pain. I'd have to really understand the diagnosis because there can be something called a spondylolisthesis, and that's where a portion of the vertebra breaks off from the other portion, and then it causes instability throughout the rest of the spine. There's just a fracture where you have a piece of the spinous process that comes off. I've seen fractures that have not caused any pain at all, and I've seen a fracture. I had an equestrian that came into me, and he actually had fallen from his horse, and he came into me and he said, "It hurts when I do this." And I said, "Where does it hurt?" He says, "The bottom of my feet." And I said, "Go to the emergency room." Because he fractured his upper cervical vertebra when he fell from the horse. Now, he didn't have any pain. He had, soreness up here, but the only thing that he felt was when he tucked his chin, pain in the bottom of the feet. So if I would have considered even doing an adjustment, which is the restoration of the bone to take pressure off, if I would have even considered doing that day, he could have been paralyzed. So we take the proper steps, and I've been doing it for 20 years. So I know what's right and what's wrong and when someone needs to be referred out or when someone needs x-rays or whatever. But from that perspective with your son, there may be something that can be done to take the pressure off that area so that he doesn't have the nerve interference there. And it could be an adjustment. It could be spinal decompression. It could be massage techniques. It could be different things. It's all dependent on what the actual issue is. So if it's an actual piece that broke off, like where is it? Is it actually on the spinal cord? Is it on the spinal nerve? There's so many different ways to really understand what's going on. So I'd have to dig a little bit more into it to really understand that. So any other questions about the chiropractic component or any of the misconceptions of health that I spoke of? So there's 5 facets of healing or health that we generally talk about, and I think that coincides with how we discussed why we're 37th overall from the World Health Organization. If we'd follow these steps, I think we'd have a healthier society. We'd live with a better quality of life overall. So those 5 facets: exercise, okay? Doing something every day to increase your movement, to increase your circulation, to do whatever you could do to basically keep moving and express yourself in a positive way, okay? The second is proper sleep. I'm sure, it gets more and more challenging to sleep for longer periods of time because there's certain faculties that aren't working the same. So, sometimes that can be a challenge. But sleep is so important. Getting enough sleep and knowing that when you do get sleep, you energize your system, right? It's like resetting your batteries, right? So sleep is so important. It's such an important concept of what we do too, because in order to help the nervous system, it has to rest, right? We have to take that time. The sleep helps so much. I always say a positive mental attitude, because that's half the battle. That is half the battle. If you have a positive mental attitude, you'll be more motivated to do your exercise. You'll be more motivated to have better daily habits. You'll be more motivated to follow these 5 facets of health. So I always put the positive mental attitude in there because I think it's everything. I think that if you don't have that you slowly digress. And that being said, I just think it's so important for us to just follow the steps. Follow the steps of exercise, and then diet, positive mental attitude. Diet's another one. We talked about diet before. Proper sleep. The last one is, from my perspective, the most important, and that would be a properly functioning nervous system, okay? Because the nervous system controls and coordinates every system, it's the most important system in our body. So if we think about that, if that's functioning at its best, then all of our other systems continue to function the way they need to, allowing us to get better sleep, allowing us to make better decisions, allowing us to eat the right foods and actually process the foods better when we eat them, because the nervous system helps the digestive system as well. So those 5 facets, I think if we put those all together and we focus more on prevention than focusing on sickness and how we manage sickness, if we focus more on prevention, then over time, we'd have a better quality of life. So I think that's the way that we need to continue to look at health care instead of looking at it as sickness care. And moving into the future, I really think that that's where we need to go in order to drop our numbers from 37th, down to like even 13, 14, something different. We are one of the wealthiest countries in the United States. Why are we 37th? That's what upsets me. Why are we there? The World Health Organization tells the story. It gives us the information that we need to make the changes. Now we have to take those steps to make those changes. We just recently got asked by the Village of Wellington and another organization, and they're an auto company. They own 60 auto dealerships, to implement a wellness care plan into their system for their employees to help better manage their sickness, to help better manage. So I said, it's not sickness, it's wellness. How do we better manage where they're going to be later on down the road? How do we take those steps? So knowing that prevention is so important, we'll be able to keep people healthier for a longer time period. We'll be able to get those employees to a point where their operating expenses are lowered because they're more productive, because they're actually taking the steps that they need to feel better, to have a better quality of life overall, a better work environment overall. So I'm helping to take the steps now so that later on down the road, these employers and employees have a better quality of life overall, okay? Any questions about what I've spoke of today? Any questions? Any comments?
What's the most important
What's the most...
that you make about your diet, or exercise, or both? Also, mental health.
I would say from that perspective, like I had said, the positive mental attitude, because I know a lot of times in my family that people eat emotionally, okay? So when we're, from a mental health perspective, when we're depressed or down, we have a tendency to eat, correct? So that's one of the things. I say that positive mental attitude plays the biggest role in everything, because it gives us an opportunity to look at, okay, what do we need to do to be more positive overall? Eat better, okay? Not emotionally eat, but make the right choices when we do eat. Exercise, okay? If we don't feel like getting out of bed that day, or if we don't feel like doing anything that day, we're not going to exercise. So taking the steps to exercise all stems from the positive mental attitude. And I know I'm preaching to the choir a little bit here, because I know you've been through life and you've done certain things, and you know you've helped yourself in certain ways to be here, you know, and to exist for this time frame. So it is challenging for me as a 45-year-old to sometimes bring across some information, and I want to apologize if anything that I said was offended any of you, but my ideals are to just bring information to people, to help them understand ways that they can better have a better quality of life overall. That's basically, you know, what I look to do. Any other questions? I was going to say this before, but also I know they invited me to be here, Addington did, but I'm independent from them. So what I believe may not be what they believe. So I just want to let you guys know that, you know, my views and opinions aren't necessarily what their views and opinions are, but I would hope that they understand how important it is to do the things that need to be done to prevent anyone from getting sicker, basically. I have a gift for everyone. Okay, I brought a little gift. It's just a little bag to carry. It's a drawstring bag, so you know if you're out in the back over there and you have something you don't want to carry a pocketbook, or you know it's a little bit lighter to carry around. So I'll make sure that everyone gets one before I leave. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm here. I'll be here for about 10 or 15 minutes longer. But I really thank you and appreciate what you sitting here today and listening to what I have to say. I know it's my opinion, and in the opinion of you know some of the other organizations, like I said, the World Health Organization. But I really want to thank you. My mother, she actually, one of her big things in our community was to create a senior organization to bring people together to increase awareness and to basically create a positive mental attitude for people in our community. I'm actually from a small town outside of Pittsburgh, and through her last 5 years of employment, that's what she really focused on, was growing a positive senior community, getting health information out to all of them, and giving them an opportunity to change, you know, some of the habits and improve their quality of life. So that being said, again, if you have any questions, I'm here. I thank each and every one of you for giving me the time today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.